Welcome to this BBB Industry segment on power steering pumps.
Power steering. We may take it for granted, but I'm sure glad this truck had it on it when I pulled it into the bay. With the use of some hydraulic fluid, a power steering pump, and a racket pinion, I could turn that steering wheel with little to almost no effort.
This video is all about power steering pumps. We're going to look at the theory and operation of a power steering pump, how to service and diagnose a power steering pump, take some pressure gauge readings, and show you step by step on how to remove and replace a power steering pump on this truck.
Now this power steering pump is the heart of the system. Its job is to deliver a constant flow of pressure to either a gearbox or a rack and pinion. This pump takes less than 3 horsepower and can develop over 1,500 pounds per square inch of pressure.
First things first, let's head over to the bench and see how it operates internally.
Yeah, that's a good idea because understanding how it operates will help us when we diagnose it. We'll also go behind the scenes and we'll speak with BBB Industries steering engineer, Mr. Mark Burkett, and he'll give us some insight on power steering fluids and discuss the importance of maintaining the system.
Well, let's get started.
This is a power steering pump that Cutaway Creation sent us. Will give us a good look at the inside, the internal functions and operation.
Well, while you show them the internal workings on the power steering pump, I'm going to go do a visual inspection of our power steering system.
That's a good idea. You have to do a visual inspection of the belt, all the system for leaks. Make sure that's fine before you go any further. Now, our power steering pump actually is driven here by our pulley. Our pulley's hooked to a serpentine belt and the motor is going to drive that and turn the power steering shaft. The power steering shaft goes all the way through the pump and it's connected to a rotor assembly. That rotor assembly spins around. There's little vanes on here. What happens with these little vanes is as that pump turns around, centrifugal force is going to fling them out. And as they come out, they contact this surface and go around. There's a large volume area here that the pressure gets pulled into, and as it goes to a smaller chamber, it pressurizes and it comes out the high pressure line. You can see those on the back. We actually have a low pressure line here that's going into that high volume area. As the pump spins, we create a vacuum and suck the fluid in through the low pressure line. That's the return line. Then as it pressurizes, it comes around those rotors and it exits out the high pressure line. Now the high pressure line has a pressure control valve built into it. And I can pull that out so you can see it. And what the high pressure line does is it creates high pressure. Now this pressure control valve will allow it to bypass. Perhaps we don't need that much fluid. Let me give you an example. We're going down the road at 3,000 RPM. This pump's generating a lot of pressure, but the wheels are straight ahead. And because the wheels are straight ahead, we don't need that much pressure, so it's going to bypass it.
And I have a power steering pressure gauge that we can put in line for help us do any diagnostic checks. And now I've got a suction gun here that we can remove the fluid from the truck.
So let's get started. Well, we hooked up our pressure gauge in series with the high pressure line. You can see it here running to the pump. This will allow us to do some diagnosing. Now, this will tell us what the pressures are, whether we have a rack and pinion, a gearbox. We have to have good pressure in order for those components to operate properly. We're going to run 3 tests. We're going to go ahead and crank the truck in a little while. We have Chase in there, and he's going to turn the wheel from stop to stop. That's going to show us the maximum pressure that the pump can put out. We're also going to close a valve here, which is going to back up the pressure in the pump and let it develop a lot and bypass through the control valve. And we're also going to rev it up to 3,000 RPM to make sure the control valve is working. So we can go ahead and run these tests. Chase, go ahead and start it. All right, we're running it now. The first thing we can do is turn the wheel from stop to stop. Great. And you can see the pressure jumped up to the maximum pressure. Now I can come here and I can close the valve. And when I close the valve, you'll see the pump actually back up pressure. Now you never want to close the valve more than 5 seconds because what we're doing is we're creating a lot of heat with the power steering fluid. The last test we want to do is rev it to 3,000 RPM. And you see it went up, but not to the maximum pressure, so the pressure control valve's working. With these diagnoses, you can repair any system.
It's really important that you service and maintain your power steering system. And there's 2 ways we can do that. We can use a suction gun to remove the fluid from the reservoir, or we can use a power steering flush machine. Very simple to use. Hook it up to a battery source and just come down and hit start and follow the prompts. And remember to always put in fresh fluid when finished.
It's all about the service. You just heard it from Chase. And we have with us from BBB Industries, a steering engineer, Mr. Mark Burkett. Mark, I'd like to ask you a few questions. What's the most common failure you find in a power steering system?
Without a doubt, it's contaminated power steering fluid. As much as the pump is the heart of the system, the fluid is the lifeblood of the system. The fluid cleans, cools, lubricates, and conditions the seals in the system. It also helps transmit the hydraulic power to assist in turning the vehicle. It's important that you keep your fluid fresh so that you're not changing out more expensive components down the road.
That's for sure. There's so many fluids out there. Can I put any fluid in my system?
Absolutely not. We recommend you always use the manufacturer's recommended fluid for that vehicle.
Why is that?
Manufacturers use specialized fluid, and they're designed, engineered specifically for a vehicle to provide certain aspects to help in the flows and pressures for that vehicle so that it steers like it's supposed to.
And how often should I service it with new fluid?
We recommend every 50,000 miles or anytime you change a component out, you flush and change the fluid. And while you're doing that, it's important to put an inline filter in there or change it if there's already one in there so it keeps the fluid fresh and it operates as it's supposed to.
Thank you. You heard it from the engineer. Keep the system maintained is key. To remove our power steering pump, we went ahead and pulled our manufacturer's instructions so we can do it step by step.
And I went ahead and used our suction gun to remove the fluid out of the reservoir.
Great. I'll help you get the belt off. Let's get started. Now to get the belt off, I'm going to go ahead and take this serpentine belt tool, put it on the tensioner and pull it down, and you can slip the belt off.
That gives me access down to the power steering pump. I need to get the removal tool and remove the pulley.
Good. While you're doing that, we can actually come over to the bench here and we can show you exactly what he's doing. It's a little better look at it. What we have here is we have our power steering pulley on our power steering pump. Now in order to do that, you're going to have to get a puller. We have a power steering pulley puller right here. And what you do is you take these two pieces and it's going to hook on the pulley itself. Once I do that, I can go ahead and use my tool to come down in here, tighten that up, and then what I'll do is I'll put my collar on. For safety reasons, I want to make sure that's going to hold the pulley and not do any damage to the pulley. This is going to be a difficult process because these pulleys are pressed on there as they're driving the power steering pump. And then what I can do is just come over here and I'll start pulling down. It's going to be tough. We'll pull down. As I push down on this, that tool's grabbing the actual pulley itself, and as it grabs the actual pulley itself, it's pulling it off. Feels like it's off. See what we got here. And there it goes. All right, what we did is we removed the pulley from the shaft. Now once we do that, Chase is going to have access to these mounting bolts. Now we have it on a bracket, but these mounting bolts will go through a bracket in the front of the truck that mounts to it. Now also, you're going to see on the side, he's going to have 3 mounting bolts. He's going to have to take them out, and 2 that go into the back of the pump. This pump's under a lot of force, so you have to make sure it's secure through all of its motions. Then we're going to take off the line here, which is the return line, and then he's going to go on the back and take off the pressure line. Then we'll be able to reverse the procedure and go ahead and install the other pump.
Well, I got the pump removed.
Great. Now let's get the pump removed. You're just going to put your new pump in the reverse order. But when you get it bolted into the truck, you're going to have to put your pulley back on. And in order to do that, you can go ahead and put that on with either a pulley installer here. You thread that in and just push it on in the reverse order that we took it off with. Or you can use this bolt. This bolt here comes inside the kit. You can thread that in and push your pulley on, but be careful. That pulley has to line up perfectly or you're going to do damage to your serpentine belt.
Also, after you put new fluid on in your new pump, make sure you crank it up, run it a few times, pull that fluid back out, and put new in again. You may want to do that a few times to make sure you get all the old fluid removed.
That's for sure. Flushing the system with the proper fluid is the key here. You may have to do it 2 or 3 times, but the point is, whether we're doing a gearbox, we're doing a rack and pinion, or we're doing a pump, this is an often overlooked service. So put the right fluid in there, follow your manufacturer's torque specifications, and your pump will be better than new.
Well, John, replacing that power steering pump was pretty easy. Having high quality parts comes with everything you need. Comes with its seals, step-by-step instruction, really nice product.
Yeah, and don't forget about this orange label. It talks about flushing the fluid. You just put a quality power steering pump on your car. You don't want to run all that debris or metal or anything that was in the system into your new pump. Take it on a test drive, recheck it for leaks, make sure the car is safe. Now, using these power steering pumps, fixing the car right the first time, you can fix any power steering system.
For more information on troubleshooting related tips, log on to bbbind.com.
Yeah, and our website, you'll find other helpful troubleshooting videos, free technical service bulletins, a wire diagram database for the entire vehicle, technical tips, and so much more. Remember, BBB Industries products are preferred by the professional installer. Thanks for watching.